do have a lot of junglers available for this time around, where the Elise, the Maokai, once again, I mean, they have been slightly nerfed, but I think if we do put Xiaohao on something like the Elise to get things done early in the map, it does put that extra pressure onto AL, because we see them really choking when it does come to these team fights.
To see the Ashe finally making her appearance here in the bot side. Can be AD carry, can be support. Generally see it more in support so far this split, but does definitely give you a little bit of flexibility. The Maokai going to be blocked in here for Xiaohao. Again, a very powerful pick. Gives you a lot of options to go a bit more aggressive on the top side. Maybe we're a Nectin and a Jayce in those solo lanes. We'll have to wait and see. But OMG now, you would imagine they would be looking for something like the Lulu, maybe the Annie as well. There are plenty of options, in fairness to them, that they can work with, but OMG definitely got lots to work with right now, and kind of we see this generally happen to OMG throughout most of their series that go to 3 games. Is that they do end up picking? Yeah, well, we wait. We don't remember the cardinal rules, the cardinal sins. You can't be doing that now. You have to wait. You have to wait until it's locked in. But we have seen this from OMG, where they have gone from locking in their solo laners to immediately realizing they need to lock in their bot laners. And Sylas comes in for Creme. Had an exceptional game too. This does not surprise me.
The Jayce is going to be the natural answer for Pinsy to make up for that lack of AD damage, as you do have the Maokai already being solo AP for AL in this game 3. So I'd really enjoy Pinsy on something more aggressive coming into this game 3, as we know that Creme just took over the game on the Sylas. He had 700 AP, 25 stacks on that Medjai's. But once again, what ADC or support is AL going to take? I mean, AL, realistically, I think this Ashe is going to go to support. I do prefer it a lot better on support, where you are able to go the Imperial Mandate and Umbral Glaive. So something like the Jhin or the Caitlyn even perhaps, that does have the range onto the enemy team, could look like an option for the side of AL, as this Vi does get banned over here.
That Vi you've been talking about finally gets taken off the table. Maybe the Wukong as well, as the Maokai has already been locked and loaded here for AL, so they know they can be a bit more sparing with that kind of setup. I like that OMG are kind of saying, look, we'll take away some of the more fringe, annoying picks that could maybe come out here, and Ashe AD carry with Nicolista support, or vice versa. Definitely a bit more of an issue to deal with when you're trying to burst somebody out, as we wait to see now where AL want to take their final few bans. But this is a big moment now for OMG. I feel like they take this win, they put themselves up to 7-4 after 11 series. That's a really nice win rate, and going up against FBX later in the week, they can, I honestly think, you know, kind of look towards locking playoffs within the next week or two. But they have to try and get this win here. In the end of the day, you know, the game difference can be important, but once you're in playoffs, you've got a chance.
Yeah, this is going to be a huge morale boost if they are able to take this series up against AL, as they are just playing for a better seeding in the playoffs. But if we take another look at the bans, it is going to be bottom lanes for OMG, as they expect that to be an Ashe support as well. As you're going to get hovered here, something with range would work perfectly for the side of AL, as you do have the Jayce already. So when it does come to those team fights, if you just play with your range, I mean, the Zeri is going to suffer immensely until she gets all her life-stealing items online. But once again, a lot of healing for OMG, so you really need your executioners and your heal cut online as fast as possible.
And this is the big thing now as well, is you're looking at AL's composition, and it says, yes, if they can get the poke off, it is very much a poke composition, poke pick, if you will, with that Ashe arrow kind of coming in. But they get caught out themselves. If they lose one component of this team, it does feel like you lose momentum of the game very, very quickly. Poke com's always known for being oppressive when ahead, but almost non-existent when behind. It really feels like you need to make sure that this Jayce and Ezreal are doing enough, you know, kind of relative damage throughout this game. And on the other side of this, if, you know, looking at the Ksante, the Sylas, the Zeri, very short range, but all wanting to be on top of your face, and you add a Jarvan into that, they are looking to dive.
They're looking to dive, but you already see the enemy locking in something like the Ezreal, so you need to have perfect execution when it does come to those dives. I mean, Jayce, very vulnerable when it does come to the mid lane 2v2, so that potentially could be an angle that Arky does go towards for the early game. But this is going to be a counter pick once again for ZDZ, as he is hovering the Camille right now, something aggressive, and does have a lot of lockdown for the team fights.
We're going to see now they got themselves a little bit more side lane pressure, get that Camille going for ZDZ, but all in all, it is still very much a poke composition. Bring down the health bars as much as you possibly can as AL. Make sure you're kind of getting OMG down to maybe 2/3, half their HP before you look for an actual engage and look to pick people off with the hook shot or maybe even the enchanted crystal arrow. On the other side, it's as self-explanatory as anyway. You go in, everyone follows you, and that's just how this game has got to go. I will say, I do think Shanji's going to try and maybe use his ultimate to keep us minutes. So right now, we're going to see if any team wants to try and maybe book the trend a little bit and make it a little bit more of a an issue for either side if they can get an early advantage.
We have the 5-man squad coming in for this tri-bush. Does get spotted here with PP God putting that ward down and swapping it out for a sweeper. So that does mean the natural response is going to be OMG going into their side of the jungle and placing down that ward at either the Raptor or red buff. But AL, I mean, I guess this is somewhat aggressive as you don't expect it way too much with how the game 1 went. But once again, this Camille getting locked in for that 5th position is going to be a huge point to look out for because you do have that silent threat. However, if you're not able to utilize the silent threat correctly from the side of AL, I mean, OMG's 5v5 composition just looks insane.
Already early aggression coming out from AL as they look to maybe catch somebody out. There is a decent ward here by PP God, so he should see all of these members coming in now. I know the level 1 is very much in favor of AL, but this is a 4v4 for the moment, and you can see that the OMG not willing to let this one go just yet, so kind of taking away this vision and stopping the junglers from really getting anything done. So both bot lanes backing themselves up and away as that Krug is going to go all the way to the tower there. Don't know if that's what they wanted. Yeah, didn't want that to happen, but it does end up happening regardless. As we can see now, Creme and Pinsy, they're very used to having these trades, but I will say Pinsy in a bit of a stronger position this time around. You can't really steal the Realm Warp anymore, and not really, you just can't, because it's Jayce into the Sylas, and you have a little bit of a better time, in my opinion, as the Jayce coming into this matchup.
Yeah, we did see Pinsy piloting this Jayce for the level 1 game.
Oh, he flashes!
Oh, not enough!
But it's blocked by PP Gods! Not able to get it on there. Did not land the Mystic Shot, but this is why you can't let Ashe through. All the summoners burn now in the bot lane except for PP God's flash.
Abel did not respect the level 1 Ashe coming into this game, and he burns triple summoners for the bot side of OMG. I mean, he is going to miss out on so much CS. Also spotting out Aki on his Raptors as he just cleared red, and that just means a lot of options for Xiaohao to path towards his bottom lane. But without the cleanse, I mean, very easy to execute on those ganks. But maybe it's just been too long since Abel has versed in Ashe, since we haven't seen one this series, and he just forgot that Ashe is extremely OP with that level 1 hob.
Now Aki with level 3 might be trying to be a bit more aggressive as he goes in towards this Raptor camp. Should be able to spot out. No, don't just yeah. Maybe he pings it to say maybe there is somebody there. He's not quite sure. Xiaohao recognizing he does not have priority in this mid lane and kind of just backs himself away. But now getting jumped on and chunked out, and ooh, feel like if maybe Aki was there a couple of seconds earlier. I don't know where Aki is going right now. I don't know what is happening. Maybe he thinks he's trying to avoid vision, but he's going to finally get himself back onto the side and steal away this red buff.
Let him cook, let him cook. He was just expecting Xiaohao to come back for his red buff, as there's just no way the jungler gives up his red buff when it does come to the early game. However, Xiaohao, remembering that Abel did burn double summoners in that level 1 trade, is trying to look, as OMG's wave state is looking extremely bad as it is slow pushing. So Abel needs to get this pushed in, or he needs the help of his jungler, but his jungler's on the other side of the map.
Yeah, it's difficult to do, as Aki should be able to maybe get a move here. They will get the abduct down, as Pinsy not got a huge amount of mana, but with that phase rush, very difficult to really lock him out and away, as Aki only just gets the red buff steal, doesn't really gain anything else from this. I think he's going to try and maybe clear out his Krugs on the bot side up to his Raptors, and then maybe go for a full clear on top side before he gets his reset out. So not really going to be seeing much else happening in that bot side as Shanji and ZDZ just keep going into their wet noodle fight. I will say Shanji doing exceptionally well so far in this matchup, keeping himself ahead by about 10 CS or so, and really kind of putting down pressure onto this Camille before she becomes a little bit of a late game monster.
Yes, definitely. I mean, just looking at this mid lane 1v1, Creme struggling a lot more compared to game 2, not as much of a free time. And back to the point where Pinsy was just piloting the Jayce for game 1, he did exceptionally well and he was able to get those items online and safely scale into the late game alongside, I believe it was Zeri, Betty on the Zeri, and then they were able to grab that first victory. But now in a 1v1 situation, can Pinsy do it again is the question, as you are in a winning matchup for this early game. Not a lot of CS advantage just quite yet, but Creme has been forced to TP back into the lane and just a very normal early game once again.
Very quiet, very set up, very controlled, I think is the way we can always look at this one here. And honestly, we should have expected this as well, considering the bot lane went as aggressive as it did, but you have got a cull onto Abel, so not really going to be seeing much else happening in that bot side. They're both the tiers and the culls kind of stacking away. No one really wants to engage until they get full value out of that. We'll wait to see what ends up happening at the end of this whole thing. As we can see now, there's a bit of an engage coming in here for Creme. He does hit level 6, so has got a decent amount to use. Doesn't want to steal away the Jayce.
Top lane.
So that's Shanji. There's going to be the Hextech ultimatum by ZDZ, just to keep himself alive. And this is the power of the Ksante right now. You can see the all-outs really working against ZDZ in this early game. And now Aki maybe looking for something in this bot side. Wouldn't be that difficult to get someone like SwordArt down, as they do not have flash. There's going to be the slow forward. They don't care about Betty at all. They are ignoring the Ezreal as first blood goes over to Abel on the Zeri.
This game really was just the race between the junglers who got to bottom lane first without these flashes available, and Aki comes out on top, landing a really nice EQ onto both champions of AL, and they were able to secure the kill onto SwordArt, where the first blood goes into Abel's hands, so it really revives him back from how the level 1 went as his summoners weren't burnt out. But once again, I mean, this Jarvan pick, we see it for a second time for tonight, where this is where you see the Jarvan becoming useful because the enemy doesn't have that flash available. However, you are slightly on a ticking time bomb as the enemy. They do have a Maokai. Once he gets his items online, it's going to be really tough trying to get any vision as the south lanes are so extremely broken. The 1v1 in top lane, however, no mana for Shanji.
No mana for Shanji, but ZDZ has got plenty of damage available to him. The hook shot could have come out there, and that could have been a very scary moment, but Shanji eats his vegetables, gets himself a nice little bit of reprieve, and good, should be able to get himself back on that top side. AL pick up the first dragon of the game. We won't have another Mountain Soul, as it is going to be the Mountain Dragon first taken out. So different soul parity coming into this one as PP God finds himself into this mid lane. Just going to try and help clear out this minion wave with Creme with a couple of those stacks.
But this top lane wave state is so terrible for ZDZ, where it's just going to get permanently frozen. And with Shanji having that Doran shield available, he's going to slowly heal, as the Camille really needs his jungler to bail him out of this situation. But with the bottom lane being so vulnerable once again, I mean, it could go either way, but this Camille in this game 3 is going to be a huge factor if AL is able to play towards this side lane pressure.
And Kitty, Xiaohao is in the bot side, but he has been spotted out, so I don't expect us to see much else happening here. SwordArt should be hitting level 6 very soon, actually. Maybe one more minion wave should be able to do it, but it's going to be a couple of plates or so. Nothing else really to come out of this one here. Xiaohao still putting pressure down. They may look to try and get the lightning crash, and there's going to be the ultimate from the Maokai just in response to make sure that Betty and Abel can't have their little 1v1, but that's not exactly ideal situations for the Maokai ultimate. You would love to try and get that to kind of, you know, catch somebody out just as they're coming out underneath the turret, but not to be. And while you're spending all that time on bot side, the Herald shall be traded out as OMG pick up their neutral of the game.
We see a slight glimpse of what could happen in the next 20 minutes when we do ensue into these team fights. Maokai ultimate just isn't reliable enough as that hard engage for the side of AL, so you really need to depend on SwordArt, which did just hit level 6, so he is going to be looking for these angles onto the other side of the map, and if he is going to be able to get these kills online early for the strong laners of AL.
And we'll wait and see how everyone kind of goes with this one here. It's still slowly but surely eking out to a little bit of a gold lead here for OMG. Got about 1,000 in the lead, as that kind of accrues from the CSing in top and in mid. Also, the coal doesn't do too badly either in terms of adding those extra little bits of gold available to you. As we can see, Dragon spawning in 2 minutes 30 seconds. Aki with level 6 hasn't had a huge amount of impact around the map right now, as very much just been on that bot side gank, and that's basically it. SwordArt walks forward, does find Aki, and gets a little bit of a Hail of Blades proc, and Aki just backs himself away. No real danger available to the jungler there, considering he did have his flag and drag. Now Xiaohao maybe wanting to try and get involved in here, and I feel like it's OMG who are the ones that have a little bit more agency to make things happen. So they have got the Cataclysm, the flag and drag, lots of kind of single target ways of getting on top of people, but if you get caught out by SwordArt's Enchanted Crystal Arrow, you're in a hell of a lot of trouble. So OMG need to be very careful when they're pushing this aggressively.
Most definitely. I mean, just looking at the items, both Pinsy and Abel having that call available in their item slots just kind of describes how this early game is going. Only 1 kill at 10 minutes. I believe the first game it was extremely slow as well, where it was a 13-minute first blood, where Dragon will be spawning around then as well. But we do see OMG just fighting for this bottom side vision as they really rely on this on Aki finding angles onto carries of AL, which could happen right now.
Yeah, they're looking for something here, but don't know if Aki's going to get much else out of this. 3 people were there, despite there only being 1 showing on the map, and that is just a very easy collapse and kill there for AL. Really nicely done there to kind of recognize, okay, we lost all our vision control around the Dragon Pit, we're just going to cover our mid lane.
Every single time, I'm like, when is first blood going to happen? Someone just instantly die. I mean, this isn't first blood, my bad, but it's going to be the first kill for the side of OMG. Any kill, just any action, but you kind of expect that from a Jarvan who does have the Herald available in his pockets. Dragon spawning in 50 seconds. So Aki was playing with the vision. He didn't spot SwordArt here, so he was caught off by surprise where it did turn up to be a 2v3. It was already too late as you commit the EQ in as Jarvan. Once you EQ in, you can't really jump out.
Yeah, this is what I was talking about, the single target CC. With that Enchanted Crystal Arrow, you have to be so very careful of when and where you go for a fight, because that is a long cooldown or long stun duration that you have to deal with now, and it's not that long of a cooldown. Already backed up, as we can see. Pinsy just getting harassed underneath the tower. There should be 2 plates going over to Creme and Aki. Should just be Aki picking that one up for himself, as Creme wasn't really in position to get that local gold. So nothing really coming out on the end of that in here. As actually you can see Aki building up towards full tank there. So
yep.
Curious to see the Jarvan not really going towards that damage or gore drinker that we sometimes see, just going full engage, need to be a tank, nothing more, nothing less.
Yeah, that was a problem with, I believe, Xiaohao with this Jarvan in his hands, where he was just getting instantly deleted by Abel Zaya. So I really enjoyed this full tank Jarvan coming in for game 3, as we do have the Demonic Embrace available for Xiaohao. So if they really play towards these saplings, I mean, OMG not having that vision set up properly, it's going to be really hard to try and find an angle, as AL is going to start the second dragon with them. TPs are available, however, I think it's just going to be a 4v4 brawl.
Full brawl coming in. We are going to see the dragon maybe stolen away. No, it's been secured here by AL, so they get themselves their second one, but can they survive the fight? It's a double kill here for Abel as he keeps pushing forward. Betty doesn't really know where to go, and the wets of the walls have crumbled around him. He thought he was safe, but then the walls just disappeared. Attack on Titan Season 2 as we come back now into the top lane and see that the top laners are still just throwing in hands at each other. No one really getting any significant damage except for Shanji, who's getting damage on this turn.
You didn't have. Why did you have to mention Attack on Titan? I have a story after this, but we see a really good ultimate coming out of Aki here. Where he gets the double CC onto both Pinsy and SwordArt. Look at this ultimate from the Jarvan. He pretty much captures everyone, and he lives on the tiniest bit of HP. That's where the Giant's Belt comes in handy, and Abel was just killing everyone with that ultimate on the Zeri, where she is getting led through for a 3rd game in a row. But back to reality and back to my story. So I didn't realize that Attack on Titan's new season came out, and I spoiled it for my friend. GG.
GG. I must say, if you haven't watched Attack on Titan Season 1 and you think that what I said is a spoiler, that was like 8 years ago, you know?
I haven't even seen Attack on Titan. That's the real question.
I was going to say, like, how have you not seen Attack on Titan with this? Yeah, I actually forgot that that you've just reminded me that the new season has started. What is it like? It's like the final season, final arch, part 1 finale or some crazy. It's a ridiculous name, but I believe the anime is having a different ending to the manga. Ooh. I believe it's having yeah, that's what I've heard. I don't know if that's 100% correct, because it's kind of hard to know this stuff. But
oh my
God, sorry. Yeah, AP Ezreal hurts. But yeah, I believe that the ending of the manga will be different to the ending of the manga, or the anime, as we can see. CDZ trying to write his own. Hey, look, we got Camille, Attack on Titan, Walls.
What?
It's great.
This is gonna play out the same way that Attack on Titan played out, but I don't even know the plot. You know,
no spoilers.
I got spoiled by Twitter. I'm never scrolling Twitter ever again because they just showed screenshots of the Attack on Titan manga and I was so annoyed. But it's okay. As long as OMG keeps up this morale, as they are up 3 kills and a lot of objectives, and Shanji is dominating the matchup. 30 CS up as well. More 40 actually, and getting this tier 1 tower down as Xiaohao does pop the ultimate. SwordArt. He missed! He missed completely, and that means that ZDZ's been caught in his own stolen Hextech ultimatum. Able just keeping him in line, putting him down. The damage! Not quite able to secure it as ZDZ flashed away, but this is OMG taking control. This is OMG that we expected to see from game number 1, and finally they've arrived in this series. We have definitely arrived. The Shanji is just having a very calm and collected game on this Ksante, just freely CSing now. 50 CS up compared to ZDZ. ZDZ trying to get his angles for those team fights in mid lane. However, the macro state for AL is looking a little bit dire, as the Dragon is going to be spawning in 1 minute and 50 seconds. But OMG, with the scaling composition, the Zeri and Ksante for this game 3, they are very comfortable with how this early game has gone.
Yeah, super comfortable coming in now as they start to hit second items for their team. And actually, interesting enough, we're actually seeing Abel not go towards the Bloodthirster build, going straight to his Runant. So he's going for more team fight rather than just being straight up a single target DPS man. But Creme not gonna do much else in this bot side apart from just throw out a little bit of damage and then run away. But with 1 minute and 10 seconds to the next Dragon, there is still a way in for this game for AL. It is an Infernal Soul, which means that's plenty of damage for something like a poke comp to work with is huge. So if they can get this next Dragon and maybe get another one after it, that's where this game could maybe start to move back in their favor. Betty will have the Arcane Shift, so should just be able to get himself over the wall nice and easy. But really curious to see now how OMG want to try and approach this Dragon Pit, because they are in the lead, but they need to make sure that they are taking the right fight.
Yeah, I'm really interested that OMG Abel has decided to opt into this Runans for the second item. He is prioritizing the wave clear over the lifesteal. We're up against a Jayce and Ezreal, even Ashe, and sometimes even Maokai saplings get a bit annoying in those team fights. So a bit of an odd choice in my opinion. I think although you are making up for that lack of wave clear, we are able to get mid priority. The lifesteal definitely is going to still play a big factor when we reach the later ends of the game. I mean, Abel could just say, screw it, I'm ending the game in 25 minutes. That could realistically happen, who knows?
Also, slight tangent, but it's kind of in relevance to the last game that OMG won. That was their 400th win, so congrats to them. This is to see if they can make it 401. Shanji getting jumped on here by ZDZ as both the AD carries are now kind of focusing out these top laners, but Hextech Ultimatum is only going to do so much for you there, ZDZ, as he's our first one to fall. Now Abel kind of lightning forward there. They're trying to see if they can catch anybody else out. They do use that blast cone to try and catch out Betty, who gets jumped on straight away. Aki goes very deep, but it's all to set up for Abel, who's sitting himself forward and pushing himself through. Triple kill there for the Zeri. And it is very much a Zeri moment all day, every day in this game. The Dragon is live. The Dragon will be secured by OMG, and this game is looking all but done, Kitty.
We hecking love Jerry in the LPL, and once again, she wipes the enemy team with how this 5v5 goes, and that goes back to our point where OMG, with the front-to-back composition, they are invincible when it comes to these team fights, and Shanji as absolute unit on this Ksante, just soloing the carries of AL and zoning them out, while Aki also landing a lot of CC onto the backline of AL as well, where he was able to get a lot of these kills into Abel's pocket. I mean, Zeri, she knew, she killed.
It's as easy as that. Just Zeri things. We saw why AL had such a priority on it, but now it is really starting to feel like OMG are taking over this game. We can even see that 2 items turn into 2.5, 2.5 turns into 3.5. It becomes that kind of inescapable scaling that you have to try and deal with. And right now, Creme Would love to actually get level 14 here in the next minute or so, because that would actually mean he would be getting level 15 very, very soon after that. He's got a stacks in his Rod of Ages. We'll see how that one goes there. But yeah, 7,500 gold lead. Shanji looking fantastic. Really not seeing much from this Camille, to be perfectly honest. And this is the thing. You take the Camille, I'm fine with that. That's totally okay for you to do. But it does feel like you have to try and give it some kind of resources into something like the Ksante, because the Ksante is just going to outscale you as a tank. And with the way he's built, the way his kit is set up, it just becomes impossible for you to really match up to him in those later stages.
Yeah, now here comes the question, Oisin. How does AL come back from this map state where ZDZ extremely behind in terms of items and CS, even experience? Well, I will ask myself this. How does AL win? Because this entire map state, no vision at all, where the Baron is getting threatened for the side of OMG. Currently, we've set up this Camille to be that side lane pressure for AL, where they just play safe in the mid lane, even logging in something like the Ezreal, where he isn't going to get engaged easily on. So it really dependent on ZDZ with that 5th pick Camille as the counter, but an Ashe arrow from SwordArt may get a pick into their hands and let them breathe once again as Creme does pop the Zhonya's.
I mean, he pops the Zhonya's, he gets the wild growth, and everybody's here. Xiaohao not able to do anything, and now the rest of the team is here. He delayed, and he waited, and he just had enough in the tank to make sure he didn't die. Creme survives. The rest of AL fall 2 for none. Baron on the table, Baron to be secured, and Shanji's already got himself pushing in this top side.
ZDZ is desperately trying to get a tower at least to trade off for the deaths on the top side, and this Baron going to the hands of OMG, but they're snowballing out of control with something like Zeri and Ksante. Definitely don't want to be giving them this lead. Already a 10k gold lead at the 21-minute mark. I was joking about the game ending in 25 minutes, but that is honestly a reality now.
I mean, it's not a snowball anymore, it's an avalanche, it's a catastrophe, as we can see here. Just more and more. And they try to make this work. They have layered every bit of CC, but they just can't get him down.
They don't have damage to finish off Creme, and the reinforcements from OMG come in. Full tank Arky just smacking down the tree. Even Shanji taking in from the topside minions, and all the teams comes back and saves Creme, as the Baron also in the hands of OMG now. But ZDZ on this Camille once again not being able to apply that pressure. They're going to force AL into a 5v5 situation, and I'm afraid without the front to back composition, it's going to be really tough.
Yeah, when you're behind on poke, like I mentioned earlier, it feels just so impossible. We actually see Aki foregoing his mythic completely. He says he wants the Sunfire, wants the Warmogs, doesn't want anything to do with that mythic right now. And honestly, can't really blame him. He's doing exactly what he needs to do, which is just survive in these team fights. He is the only 2 deaths on his team. And now with the Baron just kind of ticking away, they're taking out more and more of these structures. It's a 11,000 gold lead. It does feel like it's going to take an absolute miracle for the side of AL to get this, but you don't really have any wave control. You don't really have any kind of wave management right now, because your Jayce has to deal with mid lane, and bot lane's just getting destroyed.
Yeah, AL doesn't have that hard engage. Once again, Xiaohao forces something with his roots, but it's just not working. It's way too slow, and OMG diffuses it perfectly by just walking out. But Shanji being an absolute nuisance in that middle lane. No one can honestly kill him. They just don't have the damage, as these towers are going to fall off. Aki forces in.
I mean, Aki's got so much HP, he knows no one's going to be able to burst him out. So there's inhibitor turret number 1, inhibitor shortly to follow. OMG, Epicon takes a fair bit of chunk off of him, so he's going to have to back himself away, make sure he doesn't die. But it is slow, it is methodical, it is precise as they pick apart the base. And yes, you're getting some decent poke here from PinZ, but look at the scoreboard. It's like 0-2, 0-3, 1 and 2 being your best kind of setup here on your Maokai. It's not the greatest of situations, and Abel's only getting bigger and badder.
Yep, this Ashe support had to be ahead. The Umbral Glaive is in the pockets. They're not going to kill Shanji. That's a very critical ultimate. That's not going to do absolutely anything, especially with only 2 items on Ezreal. He's going to walk away scratch-free. But Umbral Glaive in the hands of SwordArt, they aren't able to really regain any of the vision when it does come to these major objectives. It's going to be really tough. I mean, we needed the bottom lane, and like you said, all the poke champions to be ahead for these team fights to be successful, and let the Camille apply that side lane pressure. However, they never reached that point where these major objectives are just falling into hands of OMG. And sometimes when we do reach these teams that are more to the bottom tier of the standings, I do enjoy if they just play something standard, more traditional. It's easier to execute, and it's more straightforward. When it does come to these front-to-back team fights, you lock in something like Zeri, and the team is all on the same page. For AL, for the past 2 games, games, they just seem very messy, and especially in this game state, it's pretty much, you can't come back in this state.
Yeah, it's no longer in your hands, is kind of how I put it, is that you don't really have a position to be able to kind of force anything. You need mistakes. That's kind of how this goes, is that you don't really have a position to force anything yourself, so you got to hope and pray that OMG just put themselves in a compromised position, don't really gain as much out of that, and we'll see what they want to work with here in this. Will have to be a last effort. You're going to have to pick a time. And the time has got to be soon, because you're going to lose this inhibitor if you're not careful. As the Ashe arrow.
The waves. That's, you know, honestly fine. As ZDZ does have to be backing here. Both super minions are slowly pushing in. I mean, they have to just force something. The game's about to end, or either they get triple in hit and they die to Baron minions. So it's going to be really tough for the side of AL.
No Baron to be taken for at least another 2 minutes. 2 Infernal Dragons does increase all of that damage. You can see Creme going forward, immediately goes put into Zhonya's. They're trying to burn down this tower, and they will get it. The building so much of their time, biding so much of their time. As a flash forward by Abel, as he wants to end this game right here, right now. Wildgrove comes out to make sure he stays nice and healthy, but now Creme just making sure ZDZ can't recall, and like you said, you got to make a last stand. Yes, you didn't lose anybody, but your base is in ruins.
Your base is getting swarmed by these supers. ZDZ forced it back. I mean, you just have to play here. Baron now spawning in 1 minute. The plays are going to happen here.
They're going to look for it. They're going to try and jump on the Pinzi. They get Betty, or sorry, Abel. I've been seeing Betty on Zeri so much this game. Got myself confused. But and they're going to look for it. Abel is now dead. PP God not exactly got a lot of health bar, and he's dead as well. So this is a bit of an overextension coming out now as AL look to try and catch out Aki. He gets knocked back, and he will be taken out as well. There's 3 kills back to back to back. It's unfortunate for the side of AL that this is good, but there's nothing for them to take.
Is SwordArt able to defend off the base as 3 lanes push in with these supers? He is going to save the towers as AL sneaks back into the game by getting all these kills into their pockets. 3 for 0 as Abel just instantly died here with the, I believe, getting caught off guard as ZDZ focuses him down. The bounty gold also goes into the hands of Camille. So it's completely fine. I mean, Pinzi getting chased here, TP's here, and he gets a snipe onto the support of OMG, where he did have a bit of vision. So it was a very good pick, nevertheless. But still, this map state, you have to play this maybe 4 more times for the gold to really even out once again.
It's a little bit of gold. That's nice for ZDZ, so he'll come back out with having a fully finished Rabadon, or sorry, Rabadon's Ravenous Hydra. But it's still not going to be enough, you would imagine. You're going to have to hope and pray that this True Shot Barrage is not early. Unfortunately, it is. And now Xiaohao. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I wouldn't even have minded if Xiaohao put himself into harm's way to try and get that steal, because you're against Baroned up double super minions in both sides. A TP on both sides. Shanji just trying to cut off the waves so that they cannot get this Camille to go any further. And again, we're seeing more and more pressure being put here onto OMG, or sorry, onto AL by OMG.
They did it once. Can they do it again? The ultimate from Xiaohao is going to start everything off.
Here we go. They're going to look to try and catch out ZDZ. Actually, Shanji takes a huge chunk of his own health bar. They trade back to Maokai for the Ksante. And everybody else kind of backs themselves away, but it's a 3-for-1 already, and they're just going to try and take away these inhibitors. Betty! Oh my god! He just gets deleted from the side of Summoners. My lord! And that's going to be the series 2-1 going over to OMG. It was written in the stars pretty much earlier on. It was a good effort from AL, but OMG still get themselves the dub.
It was written in the draft, so Sheena. Zeri gets locked in for the 3rd game in this row and does extremely well. 3 games in a row. I mean, unfortunately, but it didn't find that victory for the game 2, but it doesn't really matter because in the end, it was just how OMG had such an easy to execute composition and they played towards that. I mean, Shanji, he was definitely unsung hero on this Ksante where he was applying so much pressure in these team fights. Also in the side lane, he was just straight up beating ZDZ in that 1v1 with full